Hello everyone, welcome to this ReactJS series and I am your host Rakesh. So this is our sixth video on topic ReactJS states and props. So we will be covering here the use of props and how can we use the states, right? So let's come back to the place. Okay, in a very simple example I will tell you what is prop. Okay, so you see this is hand. Okay, this whole hand is a parent component. So all these fingers, right, functionally they do almost same thing, right? So they are accessing some data from parent. Okay, now what will you do? Will you keep data to all these fingers? No, right? So what do, you keep the data to your parent component and pass it through. Okay, so you will be passing this data to your fingers. Okay, all these fingers can move individually, right? But they do similar kind of job, right? Similarly in React, parent component will pass some data to the child component. Okay, how will they pass? So let's come to the demo. So let's create one component. Okay, so let me create a folder, props demo. So I just wanted to keep separate component, so let me create one here. It will be same as documentation, so rsf, right? So we have this component created here. So what is this function receiving here? Props, right? So let's see how can we use this. Welcome Rakesh. So I'll say this. Okay, so I'll say welcome Rakesh. So what is happening here? So I'm just having some JSX return. Okay, if somebody call this particular child component to the parent component, right? So what are you doing here? You are just returning the JSX, right? So but you are still not using props. So what will you do? So let me import this here. Okay, so I told you how you just need to start writing, so it will automatically pick up. Okay, welcome component. Now what is happening here? We are just calling this and I have welcome Rakesh. So what if I just send that name from here? Basically, what if I just send the instruction what name you wanted to print there? Okay, you can say name, right, Rakesh. So what is happening here? We are saying okay, component, child component, please use this particular props to render the name. So you'll go back to your welcome component, right? So what you can do here, you can just say name. Okay, props. So what is happening here? We are destructurizing this name. So now you can directly use this particular variable, okay, in JSX, right? Great. So what will happen now? If you go back, you're still able to see this Rakesh. But what is the benefit? So I told you, right, hand finger example. So now consider this is your one finger, second or third or fourth or five, right? So each finger you wanted to pass different information or the same information. You can still do that because this component, this finger component is the common component, right? So where you able to render individually, and you can also understand this way, like if you create one function you can execute that function multiple time in JavaScript, right? That is also one thing. So it is pretty much similar. Okay, in React terms you will be passing some data here, so you can say Karan, you can say John. Okay, you can say XYZ. I'm not getting name here. Yeah, Rajat. Okay, great. So you'll be keeping different props. So every time you pass different information, it will take that, okay, and render this particular child component. Okay, you can see here. So how it will look in DOM. So if you go to the DOM, so here you can see it is rendering that individual component with different data, right? So now the question comes, how many props we can pass? So you can pass n number of props, right? So you can also have age here, right? Can pass 28. Rest of them you can pass n number of props to any child component. That is the best part, right? 38. Okay, so now you go back. So you are passing the props but you are not using it. So let's come back and do something here. So as you know, if you wanted to render two things, you can otherwise you can wrap under the React fragment. Otherwise, for just to demo, your age is okay, you can use the age here. So you can use age variable and you have to destructure that variable here, right? So why we are doing that? So generally with the object we do that. If you try to console this thing, right, so you will receive as a object these props, right? You are receiving as an object here. So if you try to go and see here, so you are receiving as an object, so you can destructure your objects, right? That's the concept in ES6. So that's what we are using here. Otherwise you will be doing like props dot name prop. That's not a good practice. So better you can destructure before even rendering your JSX, right? I think that I told you in previous video also. Great. So I believe this particular part is clear to you, where how many props or how we can use the props, right? So this part is pretty much clear, right? So awesome. If you have any questions related to prop, or you come across any kind of different situation, you please do comment. I will create that video and post here. So there will be one more situation when you have a parent component, then child component, and that child also have one more child component. So now what will happen? So if you wanted to pass that information from parent to that third child, so what will you do? You can let's say here this your age is a separate component. Let's consider that. Okay, so age is your another component, and age is basically age, right? So you'll be receiving as a prop here. Props. Okay, so now what are you doing here? Like you need to receive that component here, right? So you can just directly say age, right? So you are basically rendering the child component inside the child component, right? So now you have to pass this prop here, like you have to pass age, right? So now if you go here, you will receive this age, and you'll be able to render your age is whatever age you are passing through. So now what is happening? You have a parent component, you have a child component. This child component also have a prop. So basically you can also pass through, okay, one or two level basically, but it's not recommended to use many levels. So that's when redux will come in, okay, and there is something called context API will come in. So I'll take that lecture in future video, okay, but for now to understand, you can also pass through child to child, okay, or multiple childs, right? Awesome. So if you go back and see, you still have that welcome Rakesh and your age is 28, right? Awesome. So this concept is clear. Yeah. Okay guys, let's talk about the state now. So state is something very much specific to the component, and if these states, right, you can pass to the next component. So these states you can pass as a prop to the child components, right? Thing about state is if you change value, right, if you change the value you have assigned, right, by chance, let's say you click on the button to change the number, right? So if you do that, automatically it will re-render, it will detect basically if there is a change in that particular state, and based on that it will re-render your JSX, right? So that is the best part of state. So let's come to the demo. So first of all, how can we create state in ReactJS? So what you have to do, you have to just say const, and you have to define the brackets like array brackets, and you have to say use state. As and when you write this use state, which is a React hook, will come to that in future video. So as and when you start using it, it will import automatically here, right? So what you can what this thing offers to you, so this offers you to set the initial state, okay. I'm setting the same name here, and then this also allow me to this provide two parameters here, okay. So one is the value. So if you wanted to access the value which you have assigned, right, so name one is the value which you have assigned initially. So whenever you try to render this, right, basically name one will get this value which you have assigned here, right? So if you wanted to change this value, so you definitely wanted to change this value, right, because that's why you are assigning to the state. Otherwise you could have just created a variable and passed through the components, right, because you wanted to change this value in future. That's why you are assigning to state. This is also one thing, when to use state, when to use prop. If you are going to change the value in future, and based on that change you wanted to render your JSX, right, that's when you use state. Okay, so that's when you use your state. Otherwise you use props. Simple. If you are getting confused when to use prop and state, so this is the actual reason. So if you wanted to change in future that value, right, and based on that change you wanted to re-render your JSX, okay, that's when you use state. Now how will you change this value? Just set name one. So the second parameter is a method, right, basically which accept the new value, right? So if I'll come to that how we can set the new value. So let me create one more state. Okay, I'll say this. I'll also tell you the another way, so where you do not create so many this thing, right, repeated way. So I'll come to that in future. Right now this name 2 we can directly pass through. So I said before, any state which you have created you can pass through to the child component. Okay, so as and when you do that you still have the same values, right? Awesome. So let me just remove this thing so that it renders in same line. Yeah, great. So you see here we have created 2 state and we are passing as a prop. Okay, one more thing about props is, I think I have missed it. So if you try to change, so props are immutable, basically you should not change that. Okay, you should change this state value, that is acceptable by React. If you try to change this prop value inside the component, basically if you say, so basically if you say props, so basically if you say if you say props dot name, I'll just assign some name like xyz. So what I'm doing here, I'm trying to mutate the prop. So what will happen, you will eventually get the error. Okay, so it says cannot assign read only. Basically all the props you pass from parent to child, those are basically read only mode, so you can just use it. So React will take a responsibility of all the props you are passing through. If their value will change, it will re-render. So now you understand, we should not update your props anywhere. You cannot update your props in the child component. So so if you wanted to modify, you should modify the source of it, or otherwise you should use this particular method. Okay, use effect which can help us to execute this. For now I'm just calling here like set state. Okay, I'll just do one thing, set timeout. So basically I'll take some time to change this, right? So that you can see the change. So after 4 seconds, right, what I will do, I will set the new name basically, right? I'll just say set to John. Okay, another the another one we say Ram, right? Okay, so you can understand that we had initial value these names, right? So now what we are doing, using use effect, basically this it is a hook, right? So I'll tell you more about these two, right, in the detailed manner, like how we can use effect in React. Okay, I'll re-render this. So what will happen here, 1 2 3 4, right? Yeah, awesome. So it is changing that value, right? You have changed to John and Ram, right? Great. So now you know how you can change the value of state and how you can pass through to the child component, right? So I think this is the very simple example. You can try one more example at your end when you actually learning this, right? Okay, great. So what else we have here? I'll also tell you one more thing about React. So if you wanted to know what state is assigned to my component, so I would like to tell you one more thing about React. So React have dev tool. So you can search this React dev tool for Chrome. So if you click on this, right, basically you can install that. So once you install your React dev tool, right, so you will see these components. So what it will do, it will tell you what all components you are using and what is the state you have. So app component we have, right? If you come here, you see this is app component. So app component, you can monitor here like what all props we are using. Okay, in the hooks what all state we have here. So we also have effect, right, where we are actually changing the value. So everything you can see here. Okay, so this is the way. Okay, another question you might think of, do we need to do like this always if we have a couple of more states? So no, answer is no. So you can also do something like this. So you can say user data. Okay, I'll just say set user data. I'll just say use state. So this also accept the array or the object, right? So what you can do, you can say name one, you can say Rakesh. Okay, you can say name 2 Karan. Okay, you have these two things. Now you can use this as, like, you can destructure, I said you, right? So you can destructure, otherwise can directly use dot name 1, right? And you can use name 2, right? So you have these values here. Similarly, you can update your object. So basically you can have const obj. You can use similar object, you can say John Ram, right? And quickly you can just, instead of these two, you can use this and pass as an object, right? So what is this is also doing same thing, only thing is we are avoiding creating multiple states here. It also return you the same thing, right? After 4 seconds it will change. So you can see the change in the JSX if you want, right? So how it is changing after 4 seconds. So basically it will compare the DOM. If you don't know about virtual DOM, how it compares and change here, so you can go see my video about virtual DOM. So if I re-render this, right, so after 4 seconds, yeah, you can see only this text change, right? That's the beauty of React. Okay, if you come to the component here, also you can see the app component have the state as object. That's the best part. So you no need to have these two states, so you can get rid of these two. Awesome. I think we are in very good shape about state. Okay, so can you also change state in some other manner? Like basically if you will create the button, right, so will you also do that? You can also do that. You can say, can use the button and on click you can execute one method, handle change. Okay, you can say change name, right? So you have this button. Okay, so basically we need to define this here, const. Okay, you have to define an arrow function, right? You have your button in the place, right? And you have defined your handle change. So what you have to do here, basically whenever you click on this button, you want to change the value. Okay, let me copy this, right? So I'll just say XYZ Fabula. Okay, some name. Okay, so what is happening here, basically if you click on this, you will again change the value, right? So right now if you reload this component, you have initial values which is Rakesh and Karan. After 4 seconds it will change to John and Ram. If you click on this button, right, it will again change XYZ Fabula. So now what is happening, after 4 seconds again it is changing back, because each time you change the values, right, use effect will trigger. To avoid that, we can use this bracket, so that first time when you reload this component, then only this will execute. Next time you do any change, it will not execute. Okay, great. So let's do that. So now you have Rakesh and Karan. After 4 seconds it will change to John and Ram. If you change this XYZ Fabula, now it will not do anything. Okay, great. Okay, so I think pretty much we have covered state and props. If you have any question about these two, so I will clarify everything. Okay, please do comment, okay, and like this video. So your like and subscribe will help me to create more videos about web development topics, right? So please do comment what you wanted to learn and how you want to take it forward, or you have any doubts, so I'll create video on that particular topic. Thank you everyone. Thank you so much for watching this video. It's pretty long, but anyway, I think if you wanted to learn something, definitely you have to spend some time. Keep learning, keep growing. Bye.